Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another edition of Necro-Mondays where we host weekly Necromunda Battle Reports with our series, the Underhive Wars. And this is part of our continuing Dominion campaign for Sector 7. This is Battle Report number 63 and is a good old-fashioned standoff scenario between Brother Grimm as well as myself. Brother Grimm is bringing the Pelago-Slam Kings of House Goliath, and I am bringing the Jury of House Cawdor. So I'm super excited to be participating in my section of the very last round of our campaign. Really super excited to be fighting against the Goliaths in this one. So we're going to play some background music real quick. We're going to show you pictures of the gangs as well as the rosters. So if you want to see what they have, go ahead and pause and take a look at your leisure. So that being said, let's get this video on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the scenario for this one is called Standoff. It is a Sector Mechanicus scenario, and for the crews, both gangs get their entire gang to fight out in this one as well. The objective is to take out as many enemy fighters as possible, and you score victory points for each fighter that you take out of action. You earn 3 victory points for leaders, 2 for champions, as well as 1 victory point for everyone else. How you determine who wins? Whoever has the most victory points at the end is the winner of this one. For the rewards, for the winner, you earn D6 times 10 credits, while the loser earns D3 times 5 credits. In a case of a draw, both gangs earn D6 times 5 credits. For experience, each participant earns 1 point of experience point, and the winning gang leader earns a bonus experience point. And for reputation, the winner earns 2 points of reputation. Both gangs get 1 point of reputation if they fight against each other for the very first time. This is not the case. The Pelago-Slam Kings and the Jury have thrown down before, so we can skip that part. And if anybody bottles out, they lose 1 point of reputation as well. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, we're playing on a 4x4 table. I'm deployed on the near side of the table, while Brother Grimm is deployed on the far side of the table. And pretty much my plan is to play defensively. I am a higher ranking gang than the Pelago-Slam Kings. I have a lot more to lose if I lose this one than he does. So because of that, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm just going to play purely defensively. What I plan on doing is actually dividing my gang into 2 halves, because I have such a large number of fighters in my gangs, I could actually do this pretty effectively. I'm going to lock down the bottom left hand and bottom right hand corners. I'm going to defend the metro terminal with my fighters and create kind of like a perimeter around that building to defend that. At the same time, I plan on doing exactly the same thing with a shanty town in the bottom left hand corner as well. I'm going to make Brother Grimm cross the entirety of the battlefield, and as he's doing that, I'm going to shoot at him with long range shots. And the reason why is because I have radphage ability on all my guns, because I have a archaeotech device, which means I cause a flesh wound on a 4-up if I hit them. So that's my plan. My plan is to whittle down their toughness, because Goliaths are extremely resilient. So I'm going to whittle them down with some radphage abilities, so hopefully they lose that, and by the time they close in, I can finish them off in close combat, or just shooting the pieces before they even show up and fight me. That's pretty much my plan. Granted, it's kind of a coward's way of doing things because I'm staying back and shooting, but like I said, I'm trying to compete for the very last championship round, so I'm going to play kind of cautiously this time around. So with the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about deployment for the Jury. Over here on the left-hand side, I have a smattering of fighters. As you can see, I got a little 7-man fire team. On the far left-hand side, that is Jockey. He is a ganger armed with flak armor, a reclaimed autogun, as well as a maul. Right next to him on the right-hand side, that is Nostromo. He's an ammo jack with a bolt gun, power hammer, mesh armor, as well as the mutineer skill. And right next on the right-hand side, that is VR. He's a ganger armed with flak armor, twin reclaimed auto pistols, as well as a strip clip. In the back left, that is Dark Side. He's a ganger who's armed with flak armor, a bolt gun, a sawn-off shotgun, as well as a maul. Next on the right hand side in the center, that is Scorpion. He is a ganger armed with flak armor. He's got a reclaimed autogun, a maul, as well as a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades. And right next to him on the right hand side, that is Mad Teddy. He is a ganger armed with flak armor, reclaimed autogun, and the maul. And right behind them is my gang's champion, that is Lemonhead. He's armed with mesh armor, a combo weapon between a reclaimed autogun as well as a flamer. He's got a maul as well as rain of blow skills. So over here on the right hand side I have a 9-man fire team on the base of the Metro Terminal. Up in the front that is Johnny. He's a ganger armored flak armor. He's got a plasma gun as well as a maul as well as a stub gun with dum-dum rounds. Right next on the left hand side that is Zero. He's a ganger armored flak armor, a reclaimed auto gun as well as a maul. Right behind him is Jockey, another ganger armored flak armor, a reclaimed auto gun as well as a maul. Right next to him on the right hand side is Sulaco. He's an ammo jack with bolt gun, power hammer, as well as mesh armor and the munitioneer skill. In the back behind him is Master Blaster. That is my Stig Shambler. He's got flak armor, pole arm, and twin linked heavy stubber. He's got the intelligent control and munitioneer and move and fire abilities. And right next to him on the right hand side is my bounty hunter. That is Krotos Hark, the special character bounty hunter. He's got armored undersuit, furnace plate, stub cannon, a fighting knife, headbutt, inspirational, and munitioneer skills. In the back left, that is Reptile. Is one of my juvies. He's got flak armor, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, maul, as well as frag grenades. Right behind him on the right hand side, that is my leader Riptor. He's got mesh armor, a mastercrafted bolt gun with a grenade launcher, a reclaimed auto pistol, chain sword. He's also got a cult icon, a drop rig, commanding presence, as well as mentor skills. And on the far right hand side, that is Tetsuo, my juvie. He's got flak armor, a reclaimed auto gun, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, and a maul. And finally, on the top of the tower, I got my last two characters. On the left-hand side, that is Stubber. He's my gang champion with a mesh armor, heavy stubber with suspensor attached to it. He's got a drop rig as well as a maul, and he's got the hurl skill. And right next on the right-hand side, that is Sorter. He's another ganger armed with flak armor. He's packing a long rifle. He's got a reclaimed auto pistol as well as a maul and a drop rig. And that makes up my deployment for this one. So now we're on to the deployment for the Pelago-Slam Kings. On the second floor there, the Tower of Terror is a little 4-man fire team of Goliaths. Up in the front there, that character's name is Gage. He's a ganger who's got a furnace plate, bolt gun, and frag grenades. He's got a stub gun as well as dum-dum rounds. Behind him is Porter, another ganger armed with furnace plate, bolt gun, frag grenades, stub gun, as well as dum-dum rounds as well. On the ledge there, that is the Headhunter. He is a ganger armed with furnace plate, a last gun, and an axe. And behind them is Ragnarsson. That's their gang's ammo jack. He's got a bolt gun, power sword, mesh armor, as well as the mutineer skill. On the base of the Tower of Terror, he's got a 5-man fire team. Up in the point, we got Stringer Bean. He is a Forge-born with furnace plate, stub gun, fighting knife, dum-dum rounds. He's got the hot head as well as fast learner skill. Next to him, he's kind of hidden by that little Connex container that's right there, but that's, what's his name? That's Stinkum is his name. Stinkum is a juvie. He's got a furnace plate, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, as well as a maul as well. Behind him on the left-hand side, that is Kaza. He's a ganger armed with furnace plate, a stub gun with dum-dum rounds, as well as a flamer. On the top there, the Green Mohawk, that is Rager. He is a ganger armed with furnace plate, shotgun with solid scatter shot, as well as a brute cleaver. And finally, in the back on the right-hand side, the guy with the helmet on the top of his head, that is Stink Gum. He is a ganger armed with furnace plate, a stub gun with stub cannon. And right behind him, the guy with the pink Mohawk, that is Lord Wes. He is a ganger with furnace plate, as well as a stub cannon, as well as a brute cleaver. And that makes a deployment here in the base of the Tower of Terror. And finally, the far right-hand side of the battlefield, we have another 4-man fire team. In the back, he's kind of hidden behind the huge Zerker. But behind him, that's the leader. That's Blitzkrieg Bob. He's the leader of the gang. He's got furnace plate. He's got a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades. He's got a brute cleaver. He's got the commanding presence and overseer skill. Right in front of him, that huge, hulking, massive muscle. That is Grushka. He is a Zerker. He's got furnace plate, mutated fists, and bone spurs. He's got a stem slug stash. He's also got the combat drugs and impetuous rules. Next on the left-hand side is Flesh Stick. He is a ganger with furnace plate. He's armed with a renderizer, a stub gun with dum-dum rounds, as well as a stem slug stash, and he's also a specialist. And finally, up in the front, that is Nico Cola. He's a Forge-born with furnace plate. He's packing a storm welder, a stub gun with dum-dum rounds. He's also got the hot head and fast learner skills. And that pretty much makes a deployment for the Pelago-Slam Kings. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and Brother Grimm and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and the Goliaths get to go first. So Brother Grimm does a group activation, activating Blitzkrieg Bob, who does a group activation with the resistance fighters. And as you see in this photo, they do double movements, moving up forward, taking cover behind the Dirty Well there with Flesh Stick, as well as Blitzkrieg Bob taking cover behind that. We have the Zerker Grushka hiding behind that wall of the MCI Chemical Works, and we also have the Forge-born Nico Cola taking cover behind that water tower. So for my next activation, it activates Stubber, who does a group activation, also activating Sorter at the same time. I have Sorter take a basic action to aim with his long rifle, so that way he has +1 to hit, and then have another basic action open fire. And I have him shoot directly at Flesh Stick because Flesh Stick is the closest target to him. And once he fires at Flesh Stick, I then have Stubber fire across the bridge directly to the Tower of Terror to where the Goliaths are hiding up over there. So I got pretty lucky with the shot on that one. Sorter did manage to hit Flesh Stick, but unfortunately for me, though, I was unable to wound and wasn't able to cause any Rad Phage abilities on him either. So because of that, Flesh Stick is currently pinned. And since Flesh Stick is pinned, that means that the closest targets to Stubber is all the way across the other side of the battlefield, where you can see the guys in the Tower of Terror, because he does not have line of sight on Blitzkrieg Bob, nor on Grushka, neither Nico Cola. So as you can see in this photo, I managed to cut across that entire line. Since all three guys were within an inch of each other, I managed to get 3 shots off. Managed to hit Gage. Gage. Managed to hit that guy, but all I managed to do is pin him. I also managed to hit the Headhunter as well as Porter as well. But luckily for me, though, I did hit them both, but I wasn't able to wound them. But they failed their initiative tests, so because of that, they still fell off the Tower of Terror. And they go plummeting to the ground like meteors. You see there, Porter lands right in front of Rager there, and he is seriously injured. At the same time, the Headhunter also goes splat against the ground, and he goes out of action with a grievous injury result. So because of that, he is no longer participating in the battle report. And because it's raining men, hallelujah, Kaza, unfortunately for him, he loses his cool chest, so because that, he actually runs back 9 inches to the base of the Tower of Terror, taking cover just because he doesn't want to be splatted and pancaked by one of his fellow peers as well. Which is actually kind of rare. The fact that this guy lost his cool is very, very rare. Goliath gangs are notoriously difficult to break in terms of cool, so doing that is just kind of like a small little moral victory for me as far as I'm concerned. For the rest of the action phase, it's primarily a bunch of people moving around for the most part, so because of that, I'll be just showing group photos of what's been going on. So you can see in this photo here, we have Gage as well as Ragnarsson. Both those guys do a double move over to the left-hand side of the Tower of Terror, so that way they can cross a little gantry walkway directly to the MCI Chemical Works on the far left-hand side of the battlefield. At the same time over here, as you can see here, the rest of the little posse of little 4-man fire team that we got there with Rager, as well as Lord Wes, as well as Stank Gum and Stringer Bean. Those guys just move up double movements going forward, training directly underneath that little underpass there in order to assault my main fighting lines. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the battlefield, I display my fighters within a fighting position between the foxhole there on the left-hand side as well as the wall of the shantytown. As you can see there, I just kind of spread out my forces into a semicircle with a firing line, so that way I can shoot any Goliaths that come my way. Unfortunately for me, though, the gangers that could fire unfortunately missed their shots, so not much really happened there. And I do exactly the same thing over here as well. I send up Sulaco up to the top of the little walkway there, so that way he has good overweighting fire with his bolt gun. The rest of my gangers as well as my juvies make a semicircle formation right beneath the underpass to defend it. At the same time, I also activate Johnny as well as Master Blaster to move up forward. Master Blaster goes up into the bridge to open fire directly at the Goliaths across the Slime River, and same thing does Johnny. So here's a close-up of both Johnny as well as Master Blaster opening with their weapons directly to the Goliaths on the other side of the Slime River from their position. And as you can see, all kinds of bad end up happening over here on this side. As you can see, 2 members of the gang do go down, Lord Wes as well as Stringer Bean. Stringer Bean actually goes down pretty hardcore with a grievous injury result. And at the same time, Lord Wes goes out with an out of action result as well. I believe it was Master Blaster took out Stringer Bean. Meanwhile, it was Johnny that managed to take out Lord Wes as well. So that part was pretty awesome. So with the action phase over with, you go directly to the end phase, and you can see in this photo, Kaza managed to regain his nerve, so because it turns 180, and also earns himself a bonus experience point for getting his cool back, and at the same time, Porter is still seriously injured, and he is still laying on the ground bleeding out. And that pretty much makes up turn number 1 for this one. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield at the end of turn number 1. As you can see, I've now created a firing line between the shantytown to the left as well as the underpass and metro terminal to the right hand side. At the same time, the Goliaths have to cross a huge field of fire in order to get to me, and I'm slowly picking him off bit by bit. I've managed to blunt the advance on the left hand side. However, on the right hand side, I haven't done much against that, but hopefully I'll be able to change that during my next turn, which would be awesome. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and we once again, Brother Grim and I roll off for prior to see which of us will be going first. So that takes directly to the top with turn number 2, and I managed to get the initiative on this one. So for my very first activation, I activate Master Blaster. Master Blaster does a simple action to move over to the left-hand side of the bridge. That way has a good line of sight directly towards Grushka, and I spend a basic action to open fire with my heavy stubber. Managed to get 5 shots off, and all 5 of those shots go directly into the Zerker. Luckily for me, I managed to eat up all the Zerker's wounds, so because that, he takes a serious injury and goes crashing face down into the cold pavement and slowly bleeding out. At the same time, also put a flesh wound on him as well. Unfortunately, I did not take him out of action, so I was pretty bummed about that. But at the same time, though, that's one less fight I got to worry about coming from House Goliath. So in response, Brother Grimm then activates Necro-Cola. Necro-Cola moves directly into the MCI Chemical Works right there next to that little chemical tank there on the ground level, and he stops him right there. Now originally I thought he made a mistake by putting that guy there. However, you may not be able to see it from here, but there's actually a gap between that chemical tank as well as a brick wall, and that gap gives me perfect line of sight directly to my main firing line that I have stationed underneath my underpass. And to make matters worse, Necro-Cola is packing a Storm Welder, which means he gets rapid fire 3 dice, open fire with his shock weapon, and just like that he cuts loose through my men. And so with a YOLO in the air, he does manage to cause some problems for me. As you can see, he managed to hit 3 guys of my gang. He managed to hit Zero. Zero goes crashing face down with a serious injury as well as a flesh wound. He managed to hit Tetsuo. Lucky for me though, he managed to put a flesh wound on Tetsuo only, so I got pretty lucky on that. The shots do miss my characters Kratos, Hark, as well as Riptor. However, for Reptile though, he takes a serious injury, goes out of action, as you can see here, suffering a hand injury, losing -1 to his weapon skill as well. Now if you're wondering, why did the shots hit these guys in the back but not the guys in the front? The reason why is because when you fire with the Storm Welder, it has what's called the Reckless rule attached to it, weapon trait attached to it. And what that means is that you randomly roll a d6 to figure out where your shots are going. Is pretty much how it happens. It hits everything in the front arc, but it's not determined to who hits it. You have to roll a die to figure out where it goes. So we rolled the dice, and unfortunately my 3 guys in the back rank got hit. My leader and my bounty hunter are perfectly fine, but you know, them's the break at this point. Luckily for me though, Riptor passes his cool check, which means that everybody within range also passes their cool check, so that part's kind of nice. So in response, I then activate Stubber. Stubber does a group activation with Sorter. Both those guys do a simple action, move over to the right hand side, so that way they get a good line of shot towards Blitzkrieg Bob and his party. And then I do have another basic action for these guys to start shooting. Sorter decides to take a shot directly at Necro-Cola, while Stubber decides to open with his heavy Stubber directly into Blitzkrieg Bob. And as you can see in this photo, it's absolutely fantastic. Stubber cuts loose with his heavy Stubber directly into Necro-Cola. Managed to hit that guy twice, I think is what it was. Managed to put 3 flesh wounds on him and put a serious injury on him as well, so he is down for the count. Unfortunately for my friend Brother Grimm though, no matter what he rolls, that poor guy's out of action, because either he'll be seriously injured and he just stays that way, he rolls an out of action result and he succumbs to his injuries, or he rolls another flesh wound and then he succumbs to his injuries as well. So things are not looking really good right now for Necro-Cola. Meanwhile, Sorter does manage to hit Blitzkrieg Bob, but unfortunately for me though, I do not manage to wound him, so because of that, Blitzkrieg Bob is only wounded at this point. So Brother Grimm then goes next and then activates Blitzkrieg Bob, who does a group activation with Flesh Stick. Flesh Stick does a double movement forward, taking cover behind that Hesco barrier, and Blitzkrieg Bob gets back on his feet again and opens up with his grenade launcher, firing a crack grenade directly at Kratos Hark. Unfortunately for me, Kratos Hark does take the hit directly into the chest, and it does blow up, and to make matters worse, it does put him out of action as well, which is all kinds of horrible. So I feel kind of bad because I didn't get a chance to use Kratos Hark yet in a battle to see exactly what he can do, but you know, them's the breaks at this point. So because he does go out of action, and he makes a full recovery, so that part's kind of tragic. And once again, Riptor passes his cool check, so everybody within range of his leadership bubble also passes their cool check as well. So, wanting revenge, I then activate Riptor. It does a group activation with Tetsuo as well as Sulako on the top. Sulako and Riptor open up with their bolt guns, while Tetsuo also does the same thing with his auto gun. Tetsuo's shots, however, don't do anything because he misses. However, for Sulako and Riptor, I had a much better result. I managed to hit as well as to wound Brother Grimm's leader, Blitzkrieg Bob. However, I only managed to get flesh wounds on that one, so now he's only toughness 3. He suffers 2 flesh wounds. That's because he was originally toughness 5, so he's going to be much easier to wound against in the future, but at the same time, though, he is still very dangerous. He can still shoot and fight, so he has nothing to laugh at. Meanwhile, on the far left-hand side of the battlefield, Brother Grimm then activates Kaza. Kaza moves up double movement, moving it forward to capture the rest of his assault party, so that way he can bring his flamer to bear. And for my next activation, activate Johnny. I do a basic action so that way he can take aim with his plasma gun and get +1 to hit, and then I give him another basic action to cut loose of that plasma gun directly into Flesh Stick. And in the end, not only did I manage to hit him and wound him, I also caused a serious injury as well, so because of that, Flesh Stick goes crashing face down to the ground. He is currently bleeding out, and worst of all, he is now suffering 3 flesh wounds, and that's a really bad spot for Flesh Stick to be in. And the reason why is because my buddy, Brother Grimm, only has one way to make this guy stay in the battlefield, and that's to roll a serious injury. Otherwise, if he rolls an out of action result, he goes out of action with a lasting injury, or if he rolls another flesh wound, he will go out of action with a lasting injury as well. So that part was pretty awesome. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the battlefield, not much is really going on, so I'm taking some photos of some groups after things have been moving. Needless to say, we've been doing some moving and some shooting at the same time on the left-hand side. We'll be definitely been doing the moving, but for the shooting, though, we've been missing for the most part, so I'm just going to show you what the aftermath is for a couple of those. So over here on the left-hand side, as you can see here, Gage as well as Ragnarsson crosses that little walkway directly onto the wall of the MCI Chemical Works, heading directly towards my left lines. At the same time, I also moved up Nostromo, Scorpion, as well as Mad Teddy. They move up to do some shooting, but unfortunately for them, though, they missed their shots. But they are closer to the enemy now, surrounding that little foxhole there and using it as cover. Brother Grimm, however, then activates Rager. Rager moves up a normal movement allowance and then open fires with his shotgun, firing a solid slug directly into VR, who's using the foxhole as cover. And unfortunately for me, not only does he manage to hit VR, he also managed to put that guy out of action with a grievous injury. So because of that, VR does go into recovery, and that part is absolutely horrible. Luckily for me, though, my gang members do pass their cool test, but still, that was absolutely devastating for VR. So in response, I then activate Darkside, and Darkside must have been really enraged at the fact that his best friend VR got shot, because he cuts loose with his bolt gun directly into Ragnarsson as well as Porter, who's right across from him in the Metro Chemicals wall that's right across from him. And the best part is I managed to hit them. I managed to hit as well as wound Porter. Porter also falls off the wall as well. In the end, though, it was actually the bolt gun shots that actually put him out of action, giving him a grievous injury as a result. Ragnarsson, I did manage to hit Ragnarsson with my bolt gun, but it failed to wound. But the impact made him take his initiative test, which he failed. He then plummets like a meteor directly onto the ground, and he goes into serious injury because of that. So it's the fall that kind of puts him down right now. But either way, though, it's all good for me because those two guys are no longer fighting in the game right now. So Brother Grimm then moves up Stankum. Stankum moves up his normal movement allowance, open fire with his stub cannon, but unfortunately for him, though, his shots miss. I then activate Jockey. Jockey does a simple movement action over to the right hand side, so that way he's got a clear line of fire directly at Rager, and he opens up with his auto gun. And I do exactly the same thing with Limited, opening up with his auto gun as well. And with the combined fire of both, I managed to put some serious injury directly onto, Stankum as well. Now, the reason why I took turns on that one, what ended up happening is I managed to cause a flesh wound and managed to pin him the first time when my character Jockey came around the side there. He opened fire on him, hit him with the auto gun, pinned him, and also put a flesh wound because of the Ravage ability that I have with my guns. Limited then finishes him off with another burst of 3 shots, this time from his auto gun. Managed to put a serious injury on him as well as put 2 more flesh wounds on him as well, and that's a really bad spot for Stankum to be in, because no matter what you look at it, he is done for the rest of the game. All he could do is just be seriously injured, because if he rolls into the flesh wound, he automatically goes out of action with a lasting injury. So with that, we go directly to the end phase, and the first thing that Brother Grimm has to do is take a bottle test. And unfortunately for him, Blitzkrieg Bob did fail his bottle test, so because of that, his fighters will need to take cool tests at the beginning of the next turn to see if they stick on the battlefield or not. And to make matters worse, Nico-Cola does succumb to his injuries with a grievous injury, an out cold injury for the remainder of the battle, so because of that, he does go out of action as well. Meanwhile, in the upper left-hand quarter, Porter is still currently seriously injured, so he's just laying on the ground bleeding out for the most part. And in the end of the left-hand side here as well, Stankum also succumbs to his injuries as well. Brother Grimm rolls another flesh wound result for him, so because of that, he goes out of action with a grievous injury and goes automatically into recovery. And lastly, Ragnarsson is still seriously injured, but it really doesn't matter because at this point my friend Brother Grimm decides to call the game, and the game comes to a screeching halt because the Goliaths do not want to lose more guys than they already have at this point. So because of that, Cawdor of the Jury of House Cawdor managed to pull the victory on this one, and not another victory for yours truly. So that being said, we go directly to the post-game because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright folks, now it's time for the post game. So starting off with the Pelago-Slam Kings. 3 members of this gang suffered out of action results. Fleshstick got captured, and unfortunately for him though, he got sold to the Guilders as well, so that part was kind of rough as well. He got seriously injured on that one. I rolled to see if he got captured or not, and he did. Unfortunately, Brother Grimm, when he pulled out his fighter cards, he was the guy that turned up, so Fleshstick is no more, as he's now been slayed by the Guilders, so that part was kind of rough. Porter, Gage, as well as the Headhunter and Stringer Bean, all 4 of those guys suffered grievous injuries, so they go directly into recovery. Lord Wes and Nico-Cola, both those guys suffered out cold results, so because of that, that's how the injuries laid out. Further advancements, Blitzkrieg Bob leveled up to level 4, earning +1 to his Blitz skill, and Grusha leveled up to level 2, earning +1 to his Cool. From their territories, from their settlement, they earn 1 point reputation from their territory, as well as 60 credits. And unfortunately for him, because they lost this scenario, the collapsed dome that they originally controlled, they lose it, and I get it in exchange. So that part was kind of sad for him. In the end, for the trading posts, he got 60 credits from the scenario, from the territories, as well as 15 credits from the scenario, giving a grand total of 75 credits in total. With those 75 credits, he purchased a brand new Stormwelder for Stringer Bean. So now that other Forgeborn house has a Stormwelder now as well. For his reputation, earns 1 point of reputation from his territory, but he also loses that point of reputation for bottling out, and that brings his grand total to 36 reputation in total. His new record now is at 4 wins as well as 8 losses, and his new gang rating now is at 1,930 points. Meanwhile, for the Jury of House Cawdor, let's talk about my injuries real quick. So I lost 3 fighters in this one. VR suffered a grievous injury, Reptile suffered a hand injury, losing -1 to his weapon skill, and Krotos Heart got an out cold result at the most part. For advancements, 3 members of my gang did advance. Jockey got level 3, so he got +1 to his ballistic skill. Darkside leveled to level 3 as well, earning +1 to his toughness, and Master Blaster leveled to level 3, getting +1 to his movement. From the territories, for my settlement, earned 1 point reputation as well as 40 credits. I got 20 credits for my old ruins. I got 20 credits for my slag furnace. My Archaeo tech device put Radphage on all my range weapons for my gang. From my bone shrine, I got 2 points of reputation as well as 65 credits. And finally, from my collapsed dome, I decided to risk it by rolling 3d6, managed to raise 70 credits from that. So that part was pretty awesome as well. For the trading post, I managed to secure 215 credits from the territories as well as 60 credits from the scenario. I also managed to capture Fleshdick, and I managed to sell him to the guilders for a grand total of 40 credits from that transaction. In the end, I managed to raise 315 credits in total for my gang. With those 315 credits, I decided to purchase 11 suits of mesh armor. I then equipped all my gang members, including my juvies, all with flesh armor. So that part was kind of, not flesh armor, with mesh armor, which is pretty awesome. And then I took their flak armor and I sold that. And with the leftover money that I had from buying the mesh armor, as well as the money I got from selling the flak armor, I then purchased 9 suits of armored undersuits. Those armored undersuits went to a Riptor, Lemonhead, Stubber, Jockey, VR, Darkside, Sorter. I also gave them to Scorpion, Johnny, and yeah, that was the only members that got that one. So that way those guys have 4 up armor saves, while the rest of my gang has 5 up armor saves, which is all kinds of awesome. For my reputation, I earned 2 points reputation from the scenario, as well as 3 points reputation from my territories, bringing my grand total to 49 reputation in total. My new record now is at 7 wins and 5 losses, and my new gang rate now is at 3,235 points. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. You guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out. Stay classy.